we'll see how it ultimately ends up looking, and this is, 53 man to 53 man. So week 18 roster to week 1 roster. Obviously, there's a long way to go before the Patriots get down to their initial 53. But I was wrong. There's a good chance I was wrong. They took a hatchet to this thing.
Yeah.
There was a significant reset that happened, especially on the offensive line. We talked about that being their biggest need this offseason was improving that unit, however they went about it. And I think it almost happened under the radar because there was so much focus on defense and free agency, and there were so many questions about Will Campbell during the pre-draft process, some fair, some not. But if you look at it position by position, left tackle last year, that was Vidarian Lowe for the majority of the season. By most major metrics, he was a bottom 5 left tackle in the league. They now have Will Campbell, who was the 4th overall pick, and we'll see if Will Campbell, he still has to prove he can play in the league, but as the 4th overall pick, he should be given every chance to do so. For the first time in like 3 or 4 years, there is not going to be a left tackle positional battle going into camp. It's will tackle, and I know Mike Vrabel said he's going to compete for the job like everybody competes, blah, blah, blah. It's coach speak.
Yeah.
Will Campbell's starting left tackle. Right tackle, Morgan Moses, definitive answer. That guy's going to start. He's 34, but he's been durable, holds up well. There's your right tackle, right? And then the backups, they needed backups. Caden Wallace is still here. They draft Marcus Bryant, Vidarian Lowe, DeMontre Jacobs still here. Like, they have options at the backup tackle spots. So tackle is in, dare I say, relatively good shape.
Yep.
At guard.
For years. First time in years.
It's definitely in better shape than it's been the last 3 or 4 years.
Easily.
It could be a little better, but like for where they were at the start of the offseason to now.
It's April, and we know who the left and right tackles are.
Right. That's and there's a healthy competition for the backup spots.
Yep.
I will take that.
Yes.
And the other thing about Morgan Moses signing him, Mike Onwenu, for like the first time in his 6-year NFL career, has a position. He's going to stay in that position. Mike Onwenu is going to be your right guard. He can spend his offseason training at guard. He can spend training camp at guard. Mike Onwenu is your right guard, period, full stop. That's good. Left guard's the one they didn't really answer, but we said this. If they come out with 4 definitive stars, then at center, they have Garrett Bradbury. Ben Brown is still here. He can compete. Jared Wilson is still here. He was drafted. He can compete. I don't exactly know who the center is going to be. It's probably going to be Bradbury right away. Maybe Wilson steps in at some point. But like I'm not worried about center. They're going to have a starting caliber center. We just don't know who it's going to be. So to me, they came out of this offseason with answers at 4 of 5 spots. They are better at left tackle. They will be better. They should be better at left tackle. They're in a better position at left tackle. They're in a better position at right tackle. I'm going to say they are at a better position at right guard. If you want to call this a homer take, that's fine. But I think having Mike Onwenu there, set, answered, you don't have to do the is he a guard, is he a tackle thing. It's good for him. It's helpful for him. It's helpful for the team. I feel better about their right guard situation right now than I did a year ago. Center, losing David Andrews hurts. It hurts. It does. It sucks. But compared to the guys that they had going out there after he got hurt, worst case scenario, Ben Brown proves he's still the best option. He was capable last year. He was serviceable. Worst case scenario, he's back, but Garrett Bradbury and Jared Wilson both have a chance to be an upgrade over him. And then it's left guard, which they didn't address in the draft. It was a spot I thought they might. But again, 4 positions answered, and now it's Layden Robinson. It's Cole Strange, who I think will also be in the mix at center. It's Sidney So, who I actually think has a good chance of a bounce-back year. I think he's a better fit with Josh McDaniels. And then we'll see maybe Jared Wilson mixes in there a little bit. Maybe Caden Wallace mixes in there a little bit. Some of these UDFAs they signed, I think Jack Conley could be somebody that gets into that mix. But their biggest item on the to-do list was to upgrade the offensive line. And I feel good about how they did it. I do. I think for what was at their disposal, right? They never had a shot at Ronnie Stanley. For what was at their disposal, I think they more or less did as good as they could have done on the offensive line this offseason.
And I think it's the key to the whole offense. I think this is the key. I know we all wanted the skill position guys. We all wanted a ton of wide receivers and explosive tight ends, but none of that works without an offensive line. We've seen it firsthand without an offensive line. I think this early into the process, knowing who guys are going to, who's your right tackle, who's your left tackle, who's your right guard, who's your center, or having an idea who those guys are going to be this early in the process, I think is huge. It's a way to develop timing, rhythm, a chemistry. You won't have things like someone stepping on Drake May's foot because there's no timing there. Fumbling snaps, you know what I'm saying? Little things. Shotgun snaps being thrown over somebody's head because this guy was just thrown in certain positions. You know what I'm saying? Just having some kind of consistency is huge when it comes to running an offense, to, a rhythm of running the football. Okay, we're going to run right here. We're going to run left this whole drive. This is how we're going to do things. Short yardage situation, goal line situations. The tush push doesn't work without consistency. It doesn't work without the rhythm and timing that the Eagles have. That's why no one else can duplicate it. Being able to have some kind of consistency with that offensive line and being able to go through your entire the training camp and all these mini camps and practices with the same unit over and over again can only help the offense. And having guys like Moses over there, he's another leader, a veteran, a guy that can take up the David Andrews spot of after the game, being the one up there and answer and talk about this offense and be a vocal leader for this team as somebody they can get behind and help out the younger guys that they just drafted and picked up. So I think having the offensive line is the key to unlocking this offense. And then when you plug in the Stephon Diggs and the guys that they drafted, even some of the guys that have been here like Pop Douglas and the tight ends, they only get better when the offensive line is doing their job. And it only helps out, like you said in the very beginning, all of this helps out Drake May and allows him to be comfortable and be a great quarterback in this league.
They had to upgrade the offensive line. We'll see how it pans out, but they put the effort in. They didn't, I kept saying no half measures on the offensive line, right? That's what I kept saying all leading up. No half measures. No, well, we're going to take this guy and move him here. We could get this guy, but this guy's better value. No, they went out and attacked it. They went out and attacked it, which they needed to do, and it is ultimately an investment in Drake May. It is an investment in their best asset on the football team, and it'll pay dividends. And it doesn't just help Drake May in terms of pass protection. They were one of the worst run-blocking teams in the league last year. The running backs only averaged a yard before contact per carry.
That's ridiculous.
So it's an investment in Travion Henderson. It's an investment in Ramondre Stevenson, who Mike Vrabel cited some of those fumble problems as he was getting hit too early in the play. Mm-hmm. The offensive line's going to be better, and that should elevate the offense as a whole.
And the other part of the guys they just picked up, these offensive linemen. People mention how athletic he is.
Yeah, very athletic group.
Having an athletic group, now all of a sudden the screen game looks different. All of a sudden now the run game, when guys are pulling, is going to look different. Guys are going to be able to get out in front of Stevenson, and now you're going to have a head of steam running down those sidelines.
Well, it's not just Stevenson. They got two great Travion Henderson and Kyle Williams are both great screen players. Mm-hmm. So... Yeah. And we know Josh McDaniels loves his screen. This you're going to see a lot of screens this year. I think you're going to see a lot of screens, but they're built for it.